Hey, what's up? Good morning. It's Holden here. I got JT, and I don't know if it's Travis or Mangone that I have today. It's kind of like working with Sybil. You know who Sybil was? It was the lady with like 7,000 personalities. Some of them murdered people. Other people would just be very nice in her personality. Who do I have today, Travis or Mangone?
You got the best of both worlds, man. I'll give you both of them, man. You're gonna have Travis, you're gonna have Mangone. Maybe you'll have Mangone as well. I don't know.
I like Mangone. Yeah,
I don't even know. Or was it Mangone? What was his name? I don't even know what his ego was. What was that guy? I just made
him up. It's all good. Hoop just adds an IO at the end, so it's kind of like JTO. Doesn't work very well.
Camargio, JTO. Yeah, all the EOs at the end.
Yeah. All right. So check it out, guys. JT, good morning. By the way, wonderful to see your smiling face. Are you at the beach? Where are you?
I'm at the beach. I'm at the beach with the rest of the winners, to be honest, today.
What beach is that?
South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I see a dead body right over your left.
I'm at the beach too, JT. I'm at the beach. I'm at the Jersey Shore. So we're winners are at the beach, man. If you're not at the beach, get to the beach now, and then you'll make your winners.
The mountains are nicer. By the way, before we get to this baseball, it's going to be 98 today, 92 tomorrow in Denver. We're going to get snow on Tuesday. This place is friggin' nuts, dude. Absolutely nuts. Imagine if the Rockies were at home. That'd be crazy too. Okay, so here's the deal. Let's get this baseball thing going, and then we'll get to the NBA at the end. Big bats and hardwood. Mangone has a whole bunch of NBA he wants to get off his chest, so we'll do that too. But we do have a 9-game slate this afternoon. I want to talk to you about some of the big news. There's a kid named Dean Kramer who is starting today, and you guys said he was on DK. He's starting for the Orioles today, led the minor leagues in strikeouts in 2018 and 19. He gets his debut. Teoscar is on the DL today, and Yohan Moncada is out. So that's just three of the bigger stories that I'm looking at. JT, let's start with you on this with the Orioles and the Yankees. Again, Kramer, minor league numbers, terrific. We don't have a great Yankees lineup. They've been struggling just a little bit. And then on the other side, it's Tanaka going up against the Orioles lineup, which I am no longer high on. So let's start with the pitching here, of course. Just in this game, JT, Kramer, any interest there? And then on the other side with Tanaka.
You know, the challenge with these pitchers this year is that you don't have any minor league body of work. So I can't tell, right, how many pitches has he been throwing, what's he done in his last few outings. And the sites, at least Draftkings where he is today, have done a pretty good job pricing them up. You're no longer seeing these guys come in at min price, right? Last year, you'd see a couple of guys come up, they'd be 4, and it'd be easy. It'd be like, you have to play that guy. At 6'5", I don't know how long he's going to go. The Yankees aren't a team that I usually like to pick on. Even when they're struggling, they put the ball in play. On the other side, without Santander, I mean, that hurt me to see him go out because I love his talent. And I actually love playing him almost every night. And without him, this team becomes a little less threatening. And certainly Tanaka at 7-6, he went 6 innings in his last start. I think you can look at him as an SP2, but there are probably a couple of other spots that I'm going to prioritize over him. And offensively, I don't love this game, at least right now.
Yeah, I liked it last night when Bushkowski was going to start for the Orioles, but I'm not a big fan of it now either. Hey, Travis Mangone. So those two pitchers I was talking about, once you get into that, and then we'll get to the top shelf with Bieber and DeGrom and Nola, all the studs up there today. But what do you do? What's your plan of attack in this game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to go into the Yankees offense a little bit, right, against Kramer. I don't know much about him or what he's going to do, but it is a good ballpark. The one thing that's worth noting is we get the 9 at-bats, right, from the Yankees, and 9 at-bats is always great, right? So I never mind getting like a road team in there that has a ton of power and pop. That extra inning can always matter. So, I think obviously getting some exposure to some of these Yankees bats makes a ton of sense. I just want to see what their lineup is, right? Again, it's like a total that's above 5. It's around 5.5 or so, juiced on the over. So when I look at this total, I'm like, man, I want to get a little bit of some exposure into my cash games, and in tournaments, they're definitely a viable stack.
All right, guys, we're going to get to the big arms then. JT, let's start with you. Is it Bieber? Is it DeGrom? Is it Nola? Can you make a case for Glasnow today? Who's the top shelf pitcher you're going to?
So Bieber is going to be the highest owned. He's in the best spot. He's got the highest strikeout percentage on the slate. The Brewers strike out the most of any team on the slate. So if you're playing cash, you're just starting with Bieber, and then you're trying to figure out SP2. In tournaments, I can see a case for going a little bit differently, and there's a couple of guys that I'm going to be making a decision on, whether that's moving down to Nola or DeGrom. DeGrom has been fantastic. Nola, I think, has had one bad game. So when you look at what is, is this, the question you have to ask yourself is, with as much as this Milwaukee team strikes out, is this a spot where Bieber puts up 50, and if you don't have him, you're dead? And so that's the challenge today in tournaments.
So do you guys know that Jacob deGrom has faced the same team his last 4 starts? He has faced the Marlins in 4 straight starts. Now, we know the guy's a stud, Mangone, Travis, but still, like, where are you going, Bieber versus deGrom? Like, cash, there's no reason to go away from Bieber, yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to get away from Bieber, right? I'm a believer. I'm all in on the Biebs. So yeah, give me Bieber over DeGrom. It's obviously, like, DeGrom's a great pitcher, and there's a case to be made to do like the double spend up pitcher today. Listen, I don't think it's a crazy thing to do at all. So obviously, a way that you can, in your cash games, lock up a really nice floor. It feels like you're playing Bieber and DeGrom. It feels like you're starting with 50 to 60 fantasy points at least. So. Yeah, I don't hate going the double spend up. The problem is, do you think you have enough bats, right? It depends when the lineups leak out. If there's a nice day to do the double spend up at pitcher, it's typically Sunday slates because they're not 15-game slates. So obviously you have less pitching. And on top of that, Sundays, you get a lot of value plays that pop up out of nowhere. So I think that's perfectly viable and in play. Also, want to mention, going to guys like Aaron Nola too. He's someone that you could consider as a spend up option, but I prefer DeGrom to Nola instead.
All right, very good, guys. Hit that like button when we get to 125. We'll give out some Run Pure swag to one lucky person. JT, let's break down the rest of this pitching line here. DeGrom, Nola, Corbin, Glasnow in particular, I want you to get to. And below that, I mean, it's Dallas Keuchel, who's a real good real-life pitcher. He's not doing anything for us. So the rest of that top tier, can you make a case for any of them? Nola, DeGrom, well, you already did that. Glasnow, Corbin.
Yeah, I think Nola's definitely in play. I think Glasnow's in play against a Marlins team that hasn't been very good lately. I don't know if I'm going to go back to Glasnow because I think Travis is right on this slate. And I just looked, by the way, the Yankees lineup, Brett Gardner is batting 3rd at 3.2. You've got Ford in there 5th at 3.1, and you've got Tauchman at 7th at 3.0. So you could get 3 Yankees if you wanted to for under 10K, and that'll help you easily get to 2 higher priced pitchers. The other pitchers that I think are interesting, and it's going to be a difficult decision because I'm going to stay away from Robbie Ray. People roster him, and it's the same result every time. He gives up at least a couple of home runs. I actually like the middle of that Red Sox lineup quite a bit today. The guys who are interesting to me that are guys that I never like to play are Rich Hill on DraftKings at 7K against the Tigers, and then Brett Anderson at 6.8 against an Indians team that's a little bit worse against left-handed pitching because all these guys are switch hitters. So those are kind of where I see my options today at SP2 if I'm not going to do a Bieber DeGrom or a Bieber Nola.
Did you go any lower than that anywhere?
I don't think so. All
right, what about you, Travis Mangone? Where are we looking at with the top pitching? Do you throw another name in there? And give me your thoughts on going down to Glasnow and then Aaron Nola too.
Yeah, so I touched on Nola a little bit. I don't mind him, but like I said, I think it's DeGrom over Nola if you wanted to, make your SP2 spend up above 10K. Then we got Mr. Patrick Corbin, right, against Atlanta. Like, man, it's just not the most ideal spot. And Corbin hasn't been the greatest this year, so I'm out on that. Glasnow's the guy, right? As like SP2, I'd say that I'm considering as the guy to if I don't go like a DeGrom. I think the way I would start building is I'd put in Bieber and then I'd put in Glasnow, or maybe I'd put Glasnow in first, and I'd see kind of how my build was working, and then I'd go from there. So yeah, that's kind of my approach with that. And then the cheap pitchers, like, I just don't know exactly what to do. I think Tanaka in GPPs is like a really strong play at 7.6. sure, like Tanaka, he gives up a home run, right? Like that's just who he is. He's a guy, he'll give up a home run here or there. He's going against the Orioles. I'm sure someone's going to hit one on him, but he could have a pretty good outing overall. The last outing he had 7 strikeouts. Before that, he had 4, 2, 3, 5, 3. So the ceiling hasn't been there as much, but in the past game, it was there. So maybe he can flash that stuff here against the Orioles. Tanaka, I don't mind him as another option that you could play at pitcher, but I think that's more of a tournament play if you need to just get in that extra bat, but I prefer Glass now to him. One reason maybe you don't go Tanaka is you go down to a guy like this TJ Antone guy, right? I don't know a ton about him, and I probably butchered his name. I see Holden laughing at me.
No, I'm not. You're throwing it down there, and I like that you brought him up. I was just laughing because you didn't know a lot about him. Nobody knows a lot about him unless you're a Reds fan or you sit there and you watch this guy. He's coming out. He's going to throw 4 innings today, maybe get you 5 or 6 Ks. He has more than 1 K. So I don't hate that pick at all. I mean, especially if you're trying to differentiate yourself or save some money, it's not the worst play.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I kind of think it through is like there are some big bats on this slate that we're obviously going to get to and talk about. So it depends as I build my lineups out. I'll admit I haven't built too much, but I think that he could obviously make a ton of sense here as like the cheap pitcher option. Like if you force me to pick the cheap guy right now, it might be him. Maybe Robbie Ray. I mean, listen, Robbie Ray's got the strikeout stuff, but he's definitely great at, giving up the long ball, right? Chicks dig Robbie Ray for sure. Now my question with Robbie Ray here is, what's the lineup going to be, right? Because if we can get like a really watered down Red Sox lineup, then I'd be more interested. I don't know if the lineup's out yet. Let me pull it up and see. Now we don't got anything, but like, let's say that there's no like JD Martinez in that lineup out of nowhere, right? Like that could get pretty appealing there with Ray. So I think he's in the conversation because of the strikeout upside he can have. Also, again, it's a nice floor to be able to have that too. I didn't get to pull up any of the K props before I got on here. Maybe I can find some while JT talks about some of the rest of the pitchers. But all in all, I think there are some cheap options that you can go to. They're obviously not the strongest, and it just depends on how you feel about your bats. But in cash games, it feels like the double spend-up pitcher is maybe the move today.
What do you think, JT? Anybody else that we didn't talk about?
No, I just on Ray. We don't have a lineup. The K prop for him is 6.5 on the under. Again, every time I see this every start, it's like, all right, this is the start. Robbie Ray turns it around. It's not happening. It's not happening. So I'm gonna hope that JD's in there, and I'm gonna go JD, Xander, Christian Vasquez, and even Munoz, who's at I think 2.7 today on DraftKings, been hitting the ball hard. That's a good little mini stack of the Red Sox that I don't think many people have because of a team we're going to talk about here in a few minutes.
All right, so here's the deal. As we move over to the other side, and hit the like button if you want. Mangone and I, Mangone talks about the White Sox every day, and I love going with the White Sox too. This is a fascinating spot. So we normally start with the early games, but I'm just going to go with this game a little bit later today, which is on the main slate. The White Sox visiting the Royals. So we got a couple things here. High winds between 15 and 20 miles an hour blowing out to left field. That's the first thing. The second thing is we got Matt Harvey going up against these White Sox. That's not good for them either. I mean, the Royals, to me, just for me, I'm taking them out of the mix. I'm not even messing with them going up against Keuchel. Even with the wind going out, we got a ground ball pitcher. But, JT, oh, man, the White Sox today, wind blowing out. How do you not throw them in there?
Yeah, I think there's 2 questions here. Can you win without the White Sox? And can you win with them? Because they're probably going to be 30% owned, right? And so if you stack the White Sox, you want to stack the top of the lineup, and you're going to be paying 5.6 for Anderson, 5.2 for Abreu, 4.9 for Grandal. So the good news is Mazzara is hitting 7th at 2.4. Yolmer's in the lineup at the bottom at close to min price. So I think you need to have some White Sox, definitely in cash, right? I mean, Mangone is probably, if he could stack 9 White Sox in cash, he would. But in tournaments even, I think it makes sense. It's just 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. It's approaching 90 degrees in Kaufman. You can't even argue that Matt Harvey is going to somehow have a good game, right? There's no statistic, metric, even faith, nothing. So I think, and then I will say this, with 20-mile-an-hour, and I'm a tournament player, as people know, with 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out and Keuchel being okay, I don't know. I might stack up the Royals because no one's going to play it. I might do it. I did it last night. I did it Friday night. How'd it
go?
Friday night it worked out.
They're always cheap enough, JT. Like, listen, I haven't built a lineup out yet, but can you get the double stand-up pitcher with some cheaper White Sox, a couple big bats, and then like some of the cheap Royals? I don't know. If you can do it, man, you could talk me into it. I would definitely be interested.
Yeah.
So spend up on pitcher and then go with the bottom. But FanDuel, it's not tough at all. Like FanDuel, I just saw, you can get Anderson in there. And again, Moncada's out. But there's a couple other guys that you can just jam in there from FanDuel because you can jam anybody in there that you want, right?
Yeah, that's why I love FanDuel, man. We can get the 4 big White Sox. We can get one of our ace arms, and then we can just find those value bats. We can find the Big T Darren Ruffs of the world, right? Like those lefty mashers, those cheap 2K guys. So, yeah.
He showed up last night, didn't he?
We just talked about the Yankees' middle of the lineup. That's, 3 guys at 3K against a rookie pitcher who's going to go probably not long. Then a bullpen after that. You've got Reyes leading off for Washington at 2-5 against Josh Tomlin. There's a number of gas can pitchers on this slate today that make it very interesting.
So, my God, look at this prop. Mangone, 6.5 total for the White Sox. Plus 102. Like, what is it? When do we see 6.5? That's ridiculous.
We see him in Coors, Holden. We're not in Coors, though.
That's it. This is ridiculous, man. So I don't know. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies over here, man. I'm not sure about this. Now I'm like, JT brings it up. We can win with other games. So you obviously have to have a White Sox and some Royals, but I think you're there, JT. Like everyone's on this game. So we got to find the other games, right?
Absolutely. Especially in tournaments. In tournaments, if you play the White Sox, I don't know if it's possible. It is possible to get unique enough, but you have to be consciously thinking of that, saying, all right, especially if you're going 1 through 5 on the White Sox, right? Because 1 through 5 on the White Sox, you're probably going to go Bieber and Ray, and then what, right? So it's the same lineup. So no one's going to play the Royals. That makes it fun.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable. Hey, Mangone. Travis, do they go over 6? Do they score 7 runs today, the White Sox?
Listen, I don't know if I probably, but man, that's a high one to lay. Like
high number.
I know, like I don't want to lay it, but listen, Mangone. This is Mangone talking. You know what Travis would say? Travis would say, just pony up and put all the chips on it, man. The White Sox always hit the over, except for last night. But they, the White Sox, I'm definitely going to be all in on them. Like I said, find ways to be different with your build, right? On them, it just. Like looking at some of these bottom lineup guys, like play Yolmer Sanchez. One thing that like Big T brought this up on a show, and it stuck with me for a little while now. But he basically says, and yesterday's a great example of it. Yesterday, when you were building your White Sox stacks, play Freddie Freeman as your first baseman, right? Because that's just going to make yourself unique because it takes away the Jose Abreu lines, right? And then instead you have a similar spend up because you know what a lot of those Jose Abreu teams did? That let's say they played Jose Abreu at 5.3K instead of Freddie Freeman in their White Sox stack. You know what they did? They played Rowdy Tellez for 3.5K instead. So like you're just instantly unique. You're leveraging on things. So, just don't be afraid to take one of like the highest owned bats on the White Sox and just say, you know what? I'm not going to play that guy and like play a guy that's, like a premier spend, right? Or like a premier player on a different team. I think that's a great way to do it. Like get rid of the Tim Anderson. I like him, right? I'm going to be playing him today for sure. He's going to be on at least one of my teams, but let's look at the shortstop position, right? Instead of playing Anderson, play Trey Turner. Like you're telling me Trey Turner can't get a hold of Tomlin. You're telling me Xander Bogaerts can't hit a home run against Corbin or not Corbin, against Robbie Ray. Like that's nonsense. Of course he can. He's one of the more likely guys in that lineup too. So that's a way to get unique with your White Sox stack. So that's what I would be thinking.
By the way, Tim Anderson is my MVP if Mike Trout isn't playing. You talk about a guy that has just been killing the ball. He's hitting for average. He's running. He's hitting for power. He's doing everything. So Tim Anderson's my guy. Love this kid. Let's move on to the Yankees versus the Orioles. Again, Dean Kramer going for the Orioles in his debut, 24-year-old, going to the mound, leading the minors in strikeouts in 2018 and 2019. And, Brett Gardner's hitting third today, guys. LeMahieu, Voit, Gardner, Frazier, Ford, Andujar, Tauchman, Kratz, and Wade. That does not scare me very much. The top 4 maybe guys can do that. But again, we're still without Stamp. We're still without Judge. What What are you doing with the Yankees today there, JT?
Yeah, there are some of these lower price guys that I do like. I like Gardner hitting third, 3-2 on DraftKings. I've talked about Ford and Talkman before. And against a rookie pitcher with a not so good bullpen behind him, we don't know how far this guy is going to go. So I'm not going to be playing the Orioles pitcher, but I'll have some of these Yankees, especially to, if I wanted to play the White Sox, if I want to stack up the Nationals against Josh Tomlin, which is probably a spot I'll land on, then the Yankees make some sense in those spots to help me get up to the pitching prices that I like today.
What about you there, Mangone? Travis?
Yeah, I mean, I like these Yankees here. You have to obviously want to have some exposure to him, right? If you look, you got Mike Ford. He's a guy, again, talk about playing like those first basemen, right? Instead, like he's $3K. I mean, he's going to give you some salary relief. He's definitely a good option to go to. Tauchman's a good guy in the outfield you can get exposure to as well. And I like everything that what JT said with that middle of the lineup there. There's some really nice value that you can grab. The one thing I'll say, like, man, what do I do with Brett Gardner, right? Like he's batting third, which like sounds great, but it's freaking Brett Gardner, right? It's 3.2K for him. He's definitely a cheap way to get exposure to this lineup. He always feels like a cash game type of play too, right? Kind of a contactor, at least known as that, right? Maybe not as much now in his career, but yeah, I mean, he's certainly a guy that I think he's in play too for the cheap price tag. The question is, like, are people going to pay for like DJ LeMahieu and Voit? Like JT, do you just go like all in on like the 5-man stack on it and then like play DJ LeMahieu and Voit to make sure that you're kind of getting different? What do you kind of think of that?
Yeah, I mean, you can. Look, I mean, DJ, we saw this the other night. I don't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday. Nobody talked about the Yankees. Nobody thought about the Yankees, similar to today, because I think people are going to be looking to play these teams in other spots like the White Sox and the Nationals and even the Braves. Corbin has been not great. Corbin down velocity, has been giving up some homers. And so you look at it and you turn around and all of a sudden, DJ went, yard twice, right? And so, yeah, this team, I don't think this team is out of play against anybody, to be quite honest. And I love these prices in the middle of the lineup. So definitely, especially if they come in at 5%.
Good. I'm just not going to listen to whatever I say today. I'll listen to you guys because it's the exact opposite. And you're going to be right about on the DFS side more than me. Nobody's doing anything with the Orioles today, are we?
No, for me.
Probably not.
Good. I don't want to waste time on that then if we're not going to talk about them. Next game to get to, I mean, you're not targeting the Beebs, are you? So we'll talk about Cleveland. It's, again, you do this every night. You just start seeing the same pitchers over and over again, and maybe the eye test is playing too much there for me. But Brett Anderson has not been very good for me, and I think you brought him up, JT. He's going up against this Indians lineup, which for the first 5-6 weeks of the season was probably the worst in baseball, and they've really picked it up over the last 2 weeks, which is nice to see. So let's start with you here with both of these teams. I don't think there's any. You tell me anything on the Brewers side, anything on the Indians side.
So on the Brewers side, no, on offense, right? I mean, it's just not a spot that I'm going to, take a shot on. Bieber, highest strikeout percentage on the slate. The Brewers strike out the most. Lineup is nothing special, especially the bottom half of that lineup, right? You've got Christian Yelich and a bunch of other dudes. Dan Vogelback has been released by 2 other teams this year. On the Indian side, look, I said this. Brett Anderson is a guy I'm considering. I don't know if I'll get there just because of his price and the fact that the Indians have been a little bit worse against left-handed pitchers. A lot of these guys are switch hitters. Their better side is the left side. And Anderson's this guy who can frustrate you, very similar to another guy on the slate like Rich Hill, although Rich Hill is just much better at it, or has been at least in his career. The one thing to think about if you're considering Indians bats is Josh Hader pitched last night. He gave up a couple of runs last night, actually, for the first time all season. So the Brewers bullpen is going to be weaker today because Hader's not available to pitch. It's still not my favorite spot, and I still may end up rolling with Brett Anderson in a lineup or two. It just depends on how I feel about Rich Hill.
I mean, I kind of look at these right-handers in the Indians lineup, and they're just torching Anderson so far. I mean, you're okay with Anderson, even though he's not going to get many strikeouts.
He never gets many strikeouts.
Yeah.
This is a guy that you're looking for. This is where if I if you wanted to play expensive bats and you needed to drop down a pitcher, you're looking at really three guys, right? Anderson, Hill, and Robbie Ray, right? Because like you said, TJ Antone is probably going to go 4 or 5 innings. Actually kind of like some of those lefties in the Pirate lineup today. So I'm not going to go with him. I'm not going to go with Ray because he's going to be highly owned. And it comes down to Hill and Anderson. And I know that Hill is going to be more highly owned than Anderson. So if I'm in a risk-taking mood, which I am most days, I'd take a shot on Brett Anderson. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I got to throw it out there.
All right, Travis Mangone. Where are we going with this game? What do you think about Brett Anderson against the Indians today?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if I can really get excited too much about Brett Anderson here. I get JT's case to be made, but I don't know. I just don't think I love this game in general. I think this is just a 7.5 total, just an absolute stay away for me, and I'm just going to move on. I just can't get too excited about this.
Well, that was a quick breakdown then. So what do we do with the offenses with Philly and the Mets, Travis? Like, is this another game we're just Xing off? There's got to be a one-off in here somewhere. No? I mean, Nola was remarkable in his last start, and I think he's just going to keep it up. He's every bit as good as anybody right now.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, I get it, like, without how good Nola can be, like, the strikeouts, that upside that he can have. And there are strikeouts within this Mets lineup, right? He's definitely more of a tournament option for me, but I just think I prefer DeGrom. I'd have to look at their ownerships. Maybe that could sway me. If you're telling me the ownership gap is like Nola's like in the single digits, right? He's like 5% and like DeGrom is like 25%. Yeah, there's a case to be made, but if the ownerships aren't too much of a gap, I'm not too worried. And Big T always says it, like, there's a lot of easy ways to get different in baseball. And I see the projections, and the projections, they like DeGrom more. The strikeouts looking better too. I'm in on DeGrom instead of Nola.
Dude, I'll tell you what's interesting about this is that Nola has a better xFIP. His K rate is basically the same as DeGrom. The walk rate, all right, DeGrom's a little better there, but these guys have so many interesting things that, start to balance out. DeGrom's the best. But again, 4 straight starts against the Marlins. This is fascinating to see what he does today. That, to me, is the most intriguing pitcher on the slate. But offensively, JT, anything here?
I mean, ordinarily, I'd say these are 2 bullpens that you could target, but both these guys are usually going to go so long into these games at this point in the season that it's really a crapshoot. So if you want to take a crapshoot when you have probably 6 or 7 better spots, sure, in tournaments you can. I just don't know that I'm going to do that today.
Okay, let's go on to a game that maybe you guys have a little interest in offensively, and the next one would be Miami. Let's do the Washington game because there might actually be a little bit of offense in this game. So you got Josh Tomlin going to the mound for Atlanta today, and Tomlin to this point, has not done very much. I'm trying to find his game log here. 4 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings. You're obviously not going to consider him to roll him out today. He did have 2 straight starts against Philadelphia, and he had a horrible start against the Nationals back on the 18th of August. So the Nationals in play, JT, and then on the Atlanta side, this is Corbin. So there's no scrub they're going up against today. Boy, their offense has been red hot. They have been just about as fun to watch as anybody. So what's your breakdown on this game with Washington and Atlanta?
Yeah, so Tomlin's a guy who was going to be out of baseball, and then he resurrected his career by going to the Braves and throwing like a third of an inning at a time, which is about as long as he's good for. So the Nationals' implied run total of 4.4 is kind of funny today because the bullpen that's coming in behind him isn't top tier. But I do like some of these Nationals today, without a doubt. On the other side of this, I think Patrick Corbin is in the top 5 in terms of most overrated pitchers in baseball. He's a guy who before a couple of years ago, we almost would never roster when he was with Arizona. And then, the Nationals paid him all this money, and he did have a couple of decent seasons, but his velocity's down. He's been getting hit hard, and he's almost become like a Dallas Keuchel type, right? Where he'll get a few more strikeouts than Keuchel, but he is prone to blow-up games, and this Atlanta lineup is incredible, up and down, kind of underwhelmed last night. So it's a spot where I'm interested in both teams, and definitely after the show, I'm going to take a look and see which one I'm going to land on because the Nationals bullpen is pretty poor.
Very interesting. And so far, there's one thing Atlanta has struggled with this year is hitting left-handers. I don't know if you're really worried about that on the small sample, but Mangone, can we target anybody from this game to try and get a little bit different?
Yeah, looking at this game, I think there's definitely some options here, right? I don't want to sleep on this Braves offense. They've been hitting the ball pretty well, and Corbin hasn't been so great this year. So I think that they could be a contrarian way to go. The problem is I have to spend on them, right? So I don't know. If you think about the way people are going to build their lineups, man, the Braves are really going to go unowned. People aren't going to want to spend up on those guys. At least that's where my brain kind of goes here. I just don't see people spending on them today as much. And then if you look at the Nationals, I kind of like them as maybe some interesting options. I agree with everything JT said about Tomlin. Feels a bit overrated. Looking at some of the numbers here, I want to attack him with some guys as one-offs, right? Soto's not a bad one-off if you want to spend money, but there's some cheap ones I think we can go to, right? I'm never afraid to roster an Eric Thames, right? He's someone that always has, some power and pop against some righties. You got Adam Eaton, who he's not a power and pop guy, but he's a nice cash game guy, right? That's Mangone talking a little bit, but I can always get behind a little Adam Eaton. He always is going to find his way to get me, between 6 and 12 fantasy points. So he's like the Mr. Andrew McCutcheon, as we talked about on that other show, Holden. So he'll find his way to get you there. And Asdrubal Cabrera, he's probably one of the better options. I wish his price was a little cheaper, but all in all, these Nationals are definitely in play too. I think this isn't really a game I'm going for that 5-man stack, but I think mixing and matching some bats from this game makes a ton of sense.
All right, like that. Next game. All right, this is the Glass now, and he's going up against Miami. I mean, there's got to be something else here. JT, we were talking about this. There's got to be another team that we could stack. We haven't gotten to them yet. I think that there's probably 2 offenses we're going to get to later on. But what about Miami today against Glass now? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say there. And then, when I think of left-handers with the last name of Rogers, I think Kenny Rogers, who's, one of the biggest choke artists in the history of the New York Mets. Anyways, Trevor Rogers, on the other hand, 4 innings, 5 innings, 6 Ks, 5 Ks. I mean, he picks up some Ks. So either offense?
Probably not. This park, especially on Sundays, has not been a place to target. It's been a place to target pitching, to be honest. And in particular, it's been a place to target Miami pitchers because the opposite team would go out and enjoy South Beach. Obviously now under quarantine, that's a little bit different. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rays put up some runs here. It's something I was looking at before we got on here because Trevor Rogers is making his now 3rd start, 2 pretty good starts. Yeah, I said this on Friday when half the world was rostering Dane Dunning, is that these guys always have a blow-up game. These rookies, they never get through the season clean. And no one's going to own the Rays. Nobody's going to own the Rays. I might not even own the Rays, but I'm thinking about owning the Rays.
I guess if you weren't there, looked at some guys, Lau, Rousseau, maybe a little Adame.
Rogers is a lefty. Brousseau.
Yeah.
Brousseau's my early home run call.
Renfro? Hunter Renfro? Satsugo? I mean, anybody else?
Renfro's been so bad lately. Yeah, sure. You can throw him in a stack. But Brousseau's hitting a home run.
Then go.
Yeah, I just don't know what to really do with this game. I mean, I think it's really simple. You take some one-offs here and there, like the Renfro call. I don't mind that. He's a guy who can hit lefties pretty well. Taking some of these guys here and there, I don't mind on the Rays side, but that's it. It's just a bunch of one-offs for me on that team. If you want to take Emmanuel Margot, go for it, right? It's a cheap option. I don't hate that here against a lefty, but I'm not stacking this game up by any means. We can move on to the next one.
Beautiful. Let's do it. A lot of doo-doo offenses today, or teams that are just having issues with good pitchers, I guess. But here we go. I think this is where JT is going to talk us into something here. Robbie Ray against the Red Sox. And then on the other side, Toronto, again, Teoscar Hernandez on the DL. But they're going up against Triggs, man. Alex Triggs. There's been some bad pitching this year, but this guy might take the cake. He has just been absolutely lit up. So, Toronto's kind of been a tough team to gauge, to be honest with you, because, some games they're supposed to go off, they don't. And then the games that they're not supposed to go off, they don't too. But then there's still a lot of talent on that offense. But JT, I think you're a Red Sox guy today. Yeah?
Yeah, the lineup just came out too, and it's, my goodness, it's like a work of art. Yairo Munoz leading off. Here's another guy. I mean, you've got literally 4 or 5 guys leading off at under 3K because we just saw Corey Dickerson's leading off and Margot in that last game. But Munoz, Vasquez hammers left-handed pitching. Vasquez is probably, I mean, if you're not going Grandal, you go Vasquez as your cash game catcher. Or you could go Plawecki because Plawecki is in the 5-hole at 3-1 on DK. Xander, JD. I just fell in love with that lineup all over again. I knew I would. I knew Ron Renicky would take care of us today.
Oh, you're all about Ron Renicky. What about the other side?
Yeah.
Toronto in a nice matchup, but no Teoscar.
Yeah, that's fine because you've got Triggs and you've got Biggio leading off. Rowdy Tellez is cheap again. I don't want to play Travis Shaw. There's probably other options that I'll play, but you can play Shaw in this matchup. Vlad hit another home run last night. I like Lourdes Gurriel more against lefties, but yeah, I mean, both teams have an implied over 5.5. 5.9, 5.2 for the Red Sox. So definitely both teams in play for me.
How popular do you think this is, Travis Mangone?
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons to get exposure to this game. I don't know if I should get out the way, too. I don't know if JT wants to get a room with Rob Warecki or whatever his name was you guys just said.
You're doing so well. You did not have one botched name. And then
was that a mess up, Rob Warecki? I messed it up there.
Just the manager of the Red Sox, Travis.
Kevin Plawecki?
No need to know who he is.
No, I didn't say Kevin Plawecki. I said Rob Warecki. I can't even say it now, but I thought I said it.
It's Kevin Plawecki.
Well, you called in the manager of the Red Sox. Now you guys are confusing me, but I actually do want to.
Pills, he swears. They were allergy pills, nothing more.
Oh man, but so I'm tilted right now, but that's okay. I do want to mention something that JT brought up. So he said like Christian Vasquez is your cash game catcher, and I was like, I like Christian Vasquez if I have the money for him, but I feel like salary might be. It depends what your construction is, right? Salary could be tighter if you're doing the double spend up. And listen, if I'm thinking of like allocating my funds, do I want to allocate 4.4K to Christian Vasquez, or I rather, allocate 4.6K to Vlad Guerrero Jr.? Again, that was maybe not the best example of it, but what I'm trying to say is I think I'd rather go down to Kevin Plawecki in the 5-hole instead. And the reason why is I think at 3.1K, I think I'd rather go that way. Not saying that obviously Vasquez, he's the better hitter, but if you want exposure to this Red Sox lineup, it's a cheap way to do it and at a really bad position. So I think in cash games, that's a pretty good way to go. I'm typically like the punt catcher or punt second base if you force me to pick anywhere to punt. And the reason why I like to do that is I want to make sure I get in the guys that I like, the guys that are going to hit bombs for me, because those matter a ton. So, but I like this lineup on the Red Sox side. It's definitely good up and down. The price tags are cheap enough to where we want it, and Robbie Ray can give up bombs. And the one thing Robbie Ray can do too is he can walk batters. He has like a 13% walk rate. It's a good spot, I think, for these Red Sox bats, and the price is right. That's the key. I mean, the price is really nice on these guys. So like some Red Sox, mixing them in is good, and I don't mind the full stack. On the opposite side, I do like the Blue Jays too. I mean, you got to look at this Blue Jays offense. I like them more against a left-handed pitcher typically, but Triggs is not good. He has had his struggles. It's a small sample size, but he has struggled so far to start out the year.
Thanks.
And Triggs is not a guy, if you look at his numbers from even, past year, I'm not scared of this guy. There's no reason to be worried about Andrew Triggs. So, up and down, this Blue Jays lineup is really good. If you have the money, that's the only problem, right? Do you have 5.2K to allocate to Kevin Piggio in your cash games? I don't know. And again, like in tournaments, that could be pretty unique maybe. I haven't looked at a ton of ownership, but that's a way you could get a little bit different. I mean, Rowdy Tellez seems like a great plug and play as like a cash game option and in tournaments. And up and down this lineup, it's really strong. Like the other day I played a White Sox stack that did pretty well, and it was paired with a Red Sox and Blue Jays stack. It was a 4-2-2 on FanDuel. And I mixed in Joe Panic just as a sour relief play, and he got me 12.2. It was perfectly fine. Like some of these guys at the bottom of the order on this Blue Jays team, like they're not bad. And the one thing I'll say about like this game in general, I think you're going to see a lot of walks in this game, and walks are really good for fantasy production. And I love walks because it helps turn the lineup up. Even if let's say Robbie Ray walks on, let's say he gets hit by a single by someone, then he gets it out, he walks 2 guys on, and then he ends up getting 2 outs. Like that still turned the lineup up pretty big and gets my guys more opportunities. So this is a good game, 11 total. I want to get a lot of exposure to this one.
I'm still trying to figure out who the hell you were talking about. There is no Shmemem Plawecki. Who is the guy you were talking about in this game?
JT, I said the manager, right? Didn't you say Rob Renke? That's the name it was, right?
Ron Renicky?
I don't know. Rob, I don't know.
You don't need to know managers because they're not in DFS, but come on, dude. Rob Lamecki.
Travis doesn't know names. Travis just takes.
Yeah.
You're a taker. Yeah, see?
Travis is the guy that walks in the room. He doesn't need to know everyone's name. They know Travis's name.
I mean, seriously. Ron Finnick.
Oh, man.
I love this. Hey, can you guys, by the way, I just want to tell you to do this now. Instead of doing home runs, can we do one-offs? Because I feel like that's going to help people a lot more than home runs. Like, okay, you feel like a guy's going to hit a home run, but I'd rather hear the guy that is going to win me a tournament, you know? So maybe start marinating on that before the end of the show. I didn't want to cold call you on that, but start thinking about that. Because I think, after you listen to Big T and then you guys throw a name out here like Brousseau, I want to hear the guys that nobody else is going to be playing today. So that's something I think would be nice. Anyways, we got another game here. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. All right, so Chad Cool. What do you guys think of Cool? And on the other side, this is the kid, Antone, who's going out there today against the Pirates lineup that doesn't scare us. TJ Antone, again, they're hoping to get 4 innings out of him today. Struck out 5 in 4 innings in his last start, and that was against the Cubs at home. So, JT, do we attack either side here?
I do like Brian Reynolds and Colin Moran against this inexperienced pitcher and a bad bullpen. I don't love much of. I mean, right now, I'm not high on this game offensively, or I should probably be higher because Chad Kuhl hasn't been good. His velocity has been down. He's only going to go 4 innings, maybe 5, and these aren't good bullpens behind them. So maybe I should like it more, but I just don't right now. Maybe Travis can talk me into something here, but I don't love it right now.
All right, let's talk about it, Travis. Anything?
Yeah, I mean, like this park, I hate attacking this park. That's like the one issue I have with it. Someone in the chat was saying it was I don't want to say the name. I'll mess it up.
Colin Moran?
Patel. He was saying, yeah, Colin Moran day game. He was asking, and listen, it's certainly in play, right? I think that's in the conversation. I wouldn't be playing this game as like a stack them up, but maybe just attack some home runs. And like one thing I would do is like I would look at Mike Moustakas, right? So if you play on FanDuel, Mike Moustakas is 2.7K. I mean, let me I have FanDuel up right here. Let me go to the second base position. Let's see who is 2.7K. You could play Cesar Hernandez at 2.7. You can play Howie Kendrick at 2.7. Gene Segura, Mike Brousseau, who's in the 4th spot. We don't mind, but like Moustakas is a name that like he is not in that type of category player, right? He's a guy you see at 3.5K on FanDuel sometimes. I mean, on DraftKings over there, he's 4.9K. So Mike Moustakas is looking like one of my one-offs that I think is pretty interesting in this game. And then on that Pittsburgh side, I guess I could say probably Moran is like the guy. And then that's it. Like I said, I think you could take shots here and there with one-offs, but this isn't the game stack spot, right? We talked about there's a lot better game stacks on this slate, a lot better spots to go to. If you want to take a one-off from here that's low-owned, I'm fine with it, but I don't want to go crazy.
Uncle T was even saying this, guys. We got a nice crowd this morning. Why do we only have 60 likes? You need 65 more, probably in the next 25 minutes or so, for somebody to get some swag. So let's do that. Go hit the like button. It's not that tough. JT, was there anything else you wanted to add here? What did you think about Moustakas?
Yeah, I mean, again, his price is great. His price is there because he really hasn't been performing. He hasn't been playing well. This team, the Reds team as a whole, is underwhelmed, right? From Votto on through. I know Suarez hit 3 bombs last night, but I certainly wouldn't play him again today and expect the same outcome. So I do like a little bit the 3 through 6 on the Pirates side as a contrarian play. You could do those guys for about 10 or 11K. And that gets you Josh Bell. I mean, Gregory Polanco is 2.7 on DraftKings. You want a one-off? Gregory Polanco at 2.7. No one's going to have him. And in a lefty-righty matchup and a bad bullpen behind him, Polanco's a guy who can also steal bases as well. So I don't mind that. But I'll be mixing these guys in potentially. I don't think any of these will end up as one of my main stacks.
All right, guys, we're going to get to the NBA here in just a couple of minutes. We do have another baseball game to get to. And then if you missed the start of the show, the guys got to go back to the White Sox conversation we had because it was a good conversation there. They're going to be very popular today. Detroit at Minnesota. We got Casey Mize. You know, I look at the numbers in Casey Mize. The eye test is beautiful. I love this kid. 24% K rate. He's not walking a lot of guys around 7%. He's not giving up a lot of hard contact. He's also going up against a Twins team that last year, if they were facing Casey Mize, I would be rolling them out. I think, you know what, Mangone, this is how I'm looking at it. The White Sox are last year's Twins. Like, this is the team just killing the ball, scoring a ton of runs. And the Twins have taken a major step back offensively. Now, they're still really good. What's your prospects on the Twins today? Can we get some ownership there that's going to differentiate ourselves in tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're still going to get some ownership, right? I don't think the Twins are just going to be completely ignored. If you look at their implied total, and Mize hasn't been great. That's the other thing, right? He's like this young prospect that's going to be good, but he hasn't been the greatest. One thing about the Twins that's kind of a struggle, again, like I talk about this, walks are great. Like, walks are your friends in tournaments and stuff. Cash games, I don't love walks as much, right? Like, sure, they're great, they're fine, like they get you the 3 points, but a lot of times I want to just get my guys going off hot. But within your stacks, right, you want to be turning that line about. You want to be able to try to get your guys 5 at bats. That's one thing to like about the White Sox today, right? They're on the road, they get their 5 at bats. The Twins, they might not get their 5 at bat, or not 5 at bats. They're 8 innings of batting. So yeah, if you look at the Twins, all in all, I think that we want to attack Mize a little bit, and we want to do it with some of these guys. Like in the 4-hole, Eddie Rosario, for like a cheap guy, he definitely makes a ton of sense at the outfield position. If you look, FanDuel, he's 2.9K. On DK, you get him at 4.1. I mean, for a 4-hitter in a implied total, that's pretty high today. One of the higher ones on the slate. That's a pretty good spot for him. Even Luis Arias, he's not my favorite guy to roster, but in cash games at second base, he's cheap, and he helps get you exposure to a nice lineup. So don't mind going there. And up and down this lineup, it's pretty good, right? You look at guys like even Jake Cave. He has some power and pop. I don't mind him. Nelson Cruz, if you want to spend up, he's a great spend-up option today. I mean, people are going to spend on these White Sox, and maybe he gets a little ignored. But, yeah, all in all, I'm big on the Twins. I think we can mix and match some of them in our lineups, and a 5-man stack makes sense too.
Hey, JT, DN in the YouTube chat wants to know about the Minnesota bottom of the order, so maybe you can talk about them real quick and then swing back to the rest of that lineup. And is there anything on the Detroit side you would think about? Because you kind of mentioned Hill earlier.
Yeah, Hill, just his price, 7K. I hate playing Rich Hill.
Yeah.
I just, it's never a comfortable roster. And he hasn't looked the same. I'm going to dig into this, and I'll put some thoughts in Discord about it, because then I look at this Detroit lineup and I see my guy Grayson Griner at the bottom. And, you know, I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm going to do with this game yet, but the bottom of the lineup, yeah, Jake Cave is pretty good. Adrianza, you know, Astudillo was a guy I don't think struck out for 2 months last year, so people were playing him. But the thing about the bottom of this Twins lineup, right? No one's going to play them, but as we talked about a little bit, there's probably 6 or 7 guys who are hitting 1 through 5 for under 3K on Draftkings today that I would probably prefer to play than either Adrianza or Astudillo. Yeah, you could take shots on Jacob. He could hit a home run. I don't, you know, this Casey Mize, he hasn't put it all together yet, clearly. He's been getting a little bit unlucky, I think, too, but I'm not going to go there against this Twins lineup. And, you know, Detroit has been not as bad as everybody say they are. There's been nights where they put up a bunch of runs. They did it earlier this week against I think it was a couple of Brewers starters who were chalk. So if I don't think he'll get ownership though. I think it'll be drawn to Robbie Ray. So yeah.
Okay, very good. You said you had a couple other names. Maybe we could talk about that in just a minute. But I want to go back to the White Sox guys. For anybody that missed the start of the show, this is going to be the big story today. Winds blowing out 15 to 20 miles an hour in Chicago. Keuchel on one side against the Royals. You got a ground ball pitcher. But, you know, the White Sox today, this is going to be super, super duper. So, again, Mangone, if you could just run down the White Sox that you want in cash and how you're attacking them in tournaments.
Yeah, I'll run this down, but I want to explain. Holden, remember last time we were on a show, I said the Annabelle Goodbye Tour was going on, and it worked out, right? Annabelle Sanchez, he got rocked up a little bit. He only went 3 innings. The Matt Harvey Goodbye Tour, it's going to be a hit today, man. They're going to be playing all the classics. They're playing Holden. They're playing Rocky Like a Hurricane, Thunderstruck, Highway to Get Shelled, Wanted Dead or Alive. It's going to be a great show, man.
What list are you reading from? Did you just type in silly pun songs?
I had them off the top of my head a little bit, so I went and looked them up. Made sure I had a nice little list for you.
I wish JT was there to slap you across the face for that horrible garbage. Okay, buddy, but come on. Yeah. Come on, none of these puns. Give me the real stuff.
All right, that was Mangone talking. Travis is here to give you the real stuff. Okay, so
I hate you for creating this beast, multi-personality beast. All right, go for it.
All right, so let's talk about the White Sox here. Let's talk about up and down how we're going to attack them. So Tim Anderson, he's great. I don't know if he's my favorite today, though. I like him. I don't know if it's the best way to allocate your salary. I'm still kind of trying to go through and figure it out. But this bottom of the order is what we really want to look at. And we really want to try and do our thing with that. We want to look at it and see where can we attack it, like FanDuel specifically, okay? I talked about second base, and I talked about liking Moustakas. But, dude, Yolmer Sanchez is really cheap. I mean, he has the flat min over there. That can maybe, make some things work for you. So, and I'm going to try and get Bieber in with my White Sox stacks, right? That's something I'm definitely going to be trying to attack and be going with. So, yeah, I like Yolmer Sanchez a bit. Grandal, he's been hitting the ball really well lately, and he helps roster that catcher position for you. It just depends. Do you want to spend your salary there on Draftkings? On FanDuel, it's a little bit easier, and it's also more unique, right? Because the catcher first base position. Draftkings, it's a little bit different. I don't know if that's the best way to spend my money. I think my favorite guy in the lineup, though, my absolute number one favorite, I think I'm going to start every single team with him, is Luis Robert. I can't not get behind him. It's just such a good spot here for him. What happens with Robert is if you look at the pitch types that Matt Harvey throws, he throws the four-seam fastball a ton, and he throws the slider. And sure, Robert, he's had some issues so far this year with the fastball, but I'm not worried about a Matt Harvey meatball, right? But the slider, he has absolutely crushed the slider. So I like him a ton. I'm going to go with him, like Eloy Jimenez. I'm going to really look at this bottom of the order more. I think most of my builds are going to be trying to get exposure to 2 or even 3 guys from Edwin Encarnacion and below to try and make my White Sox stack a bit unique.
Apparently, I misspoke and said the game was in Chicago. It's in Kansas City, and there's 19 to 20 mile an hour winds. The odd thing was I just looked up Chicago, and it's 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. So it's windy everywhere. But yes, it is in Kansas City. My bad.
By the way, Nelson Cruz just got scratched. So I think it sounds like Rooker might be back in our lineups. And I know he got pulled yesterday for Cave, which is kind of frustrating if you rostered him. But maybe with Cruz getting that yank, maybe we get Rooker for, 4 at-bats today. So he could be a nice little value in that game.
All right. Once again, JT, Sox side, and then maybe what does that do to your Twins?
Yeah, I wasn't in love with the Twins so much. So, and Cruz, getting scratched. I think they did that twice this week, pulled Rooker for a pinch runner or something. That's the other thing that's going on right now. You see these teams that are scrambling to get into postseason position. It's going to be pretty wild. So you got to be paying attention to who's your candidates to get pinch run for in the middle of the game, especially in those 7-inning doubleheaders. But I said and Big T is in chat, by the way, saying he hates the White Sox. He doesn't hate the White Sox, but he's not on the White Sox. And I understand that because they are going to be highly owned. And, it's the same ballpark environment, 20 mile an hour winds, hot for the hitters on the other side. And I'll be honest, it is. I know that's crazy. I had a stack of the Royals on Friday night. I had a stack of them last night that didn't go off. I might go back to them today at 1% ownership on this slate and, maybe pick out Mazzara on the other side and Robert and see what happens. So I do think exposure to the White Sox is smart, especially like Travis said in cash games.
All right, guys, let's get your one-offs. Again, usually we ask for the home runs. I think the one-offs are kind of going to help people a lot more in the tournaments. So I want to do that. And again, I remind you, we're at 81 likes. We need 19 plus 25, 44 more likes. We are going to do a little NBA, so you got a little bit of time. Just hit the like button. It's not that tough. Then one of you is going to win some Run Pure swag. Travis Mangone, what are we doing here with one-offs?
Yeah, so someone actually in the chat brought up a guy, when we were talking about the Indians game, I almost mentioned him, and then I looked back at the chat, and they basically said it. So shout out to whoever that was. I can't remember, but they said Franmil Reyes. And, if you told me to play an Indian, I think that's the guy I would do against Anderson. So I like that one as a little bit of a one-off call. So we'll go with him. I know what I talked about before is Mike Moustakas. I think he's a pretty good one-off call. I'll take him as a one-off, and then we'll give you one more. We'll give you in the let's see the Blue Jays and Blue Jays and Red Sox game, we'll go with the one-off will be, what's his name? We'll go back to Kevin Plawecki, right? A little cheap catcher action. He's going to be the one-off for you.
Yes, JT.
So the obvious one that I talked a little bit about is Nomar Mazara, right? Nomar Mazara at 2-4. I do like these Yankees lefties after looking at this a little bit more. And Gardner at 3-2 in the 3-hole is just a little bit. It's just so appetizing, honestly. And then one that no one's going to play. You want one that's going to win a tournament?
Please.
Nobody's going to play. Corey Dickerson leading off against Tyler Glasnow. Glasnow strikes a lot of people out. He also, on this slate, is giving up the either third or fourth highest percentage of hard contact. So you want to mix in a low-owned, no-owned guy with your White Sox or your Red Sox or your Blue Jays? Corey Dickerson, 2-9, leading off. He's not going to get pinch hit for.
All right, very good. Since we're going to go to the NBA in a second, my new thing, instead of cutting you guys off and correcting you, unless Mangone says the manager of the Red Sox is Shimon Pronicki, here's what you got wrong today. You got Shimon Rennick. It's Ron Rennicky is the manager, Travis. I already told you about that. You did very good today, JT. The only one that you messed up was Jake Cave. You called him Jake Cove.
That's his name. That's his name.
It's Cave.
It's Cove. Jake Cove. Did you not go to English class?
And then it's not Robert. It's Robert.
No, it's Robert.
It's Luis Robert. That's what it is.
Robert.
Hey,
Travis calls him Luis. Travis calls him Luis Robert.
Travis is a dumbass.
Mangone calls him Luis.
It's not
Robert.
that tough. You know.
Travis, you and I got to be aligned here. We're both right.
Yeah, well, me and JT are right. We're saying Holden's wrong on this one. I'm with you on the was it Cave? I don't know how you said it. But.
I can't do this anymore.
Cobb.
God damn it!
Jake Cobb.
All right. NBA, we ready for some NBA? We're going to do this?
Yeah, let's get it.
You don't got to go to the bathroom, do you, JT? You all right?
I'm good. I'm going to sit with you. Listen.
Let's do this, baby.
Yeah, I win in NBA too.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, man.
You were giving me the signal, so I thought you had to go potty. Milwaukee at Miami. So, Travis, Giannis with the ankle is questionable. Come on, he's playing today. Miami's looking to shut this thing down. Olynyk seems like he's always questionable. Start with the Milwaukee side. What's going on with Giannis? What's going on with the Bucks, man?
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks are a disaster. Like, they're just an absolute disaster right now. The ship is sinking, and I'm loving it, right? I'm on team hate on Giannis. It's been a fun trip, and we're here. We're at the moment. So I'm going to eat it up today. It's going to be a fun time. 3:30, be there. Titletown will probably be crying in a corner about his Bucks. Steve Anthony has already waved the white flag. I'm sure he's in the chat right now. So, yeah, I'm excited. So, yeah, I'll be watching this game. I think Giannis plays. If he doesn't play, man, just more fun for us, right? Grab the popcorn and head on over to twitter.com. It'll be a good time. We'll be all making fun of him. But, Giannis, I'm assuming he plays. I'm assuming the ankle's fine. But you do have to wonder, right? Like, it's just tough to trust. Like, Coach Budenholzer is an idiot. I mean, he is not giving these guys runs. And the other thing he went and did was Budenholzer went out and basically said, they're playing their ceiling minutes of 35 to 36. Like, come on, man. That's a real thing. Like, what I would do is I would look at Budenholzer's pregame and I would see if there's anything he says that he's like, yeah, my guys are going to go out there and play more minutes. If he doesn't, don't go out there and be the guy that's like, I can't believe Giannis didn't play 40 minutes tonight, because Budenholzer already showed you his cards. He showed you the cards yesterday. It was basically a winner go home game the last game, and he didn't do anything about it, right? And even in the post-game interview said, I was happy with their minutes. That's what their ceiling is. So you need to expect 35 to 36 minutes. Now, if he says something pregame, which has you think otherwise, then maybe change that expectations. But that's what we need to go with. I still think Giannis is a good play, but listen, the Lakers just lost, right? They're down 1-0. That's not a good spot to be at. I think I'd rather lean to going to LeBron. I feel like he might have some more urgency there. I'm also getting a nice savings at $700. So I don't know how in love I'm going to be with Giannis today compared to LeBron. That's something I'll update in the Discord chat if you guys want. I'm torn at what to do there with that situation, but I think I'm leaning LeBron right now. I still like Middleton. He's perfectly fine, probably better on FanDuel than DK. Eric Bledsoe's price still isn't bad either. But like, I don't love the Bucks side that much, right? Typically, I like to play Giannis in the playoffs because I feel safer about his minutes, but it just hasn't been there and been what I want to do. So the Bucks side, I'm kind of not too excited about it. I'll say that.
How about you, JT? Anything?
Yeah, no, I just on Coach Bood. We had him here in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta. He got run out of here. And this is what happened when you really what he did, Travis, right? He dicked around all regular season. Guy sat last minute. He didn't take the regular. He was like, oh, we're just going to roll through. And, the Giannis questionable thing is amazing because if he sits, I mean, there's just no argument anymore that he's the greatest. And, I agree with him as well. LeBron coming off a loss. Yeah, that's where I would go.
Yeah, who's the best player in the NBA? It's not Giannis. Who is it? Who's the best player in the NBA?
For me, it's Kawhi or LeBron. Like it's one of the two.
And LeBron's still there.
It's hard to argue. Here's why I think it's hard to argue against LeBron this year. It's because these guys like Kawhi, PG, Giannis, right? What do? They sit on the easy games, right? They're going into Cleveland. They're coming down to play the Hawks. They take those days off. LeBron never did that. Even when he was sick this year, he came here. He played in Atlanta. I don't love LeBron personally, but as a player, I mean, he's got to be the guy.
And did you see Kawhi? Kawhi might not play the next game. I think his ankles fell off. Jamal Murray, that little crossover. Did you guys see it? Oh my God! If you didn't see it, go look up the highlight. Kawhi I didn't think about it, man. He just fell.
I got to kill the chat. They're out here saying Luka's the best. Like, Luka's amazing. He's incredible. He's not the best in the league right yet. Now. That's really just ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe someday. Did you even get to the other side? Did you get to the Miami side?
No, I didn't go for that. Let's talk about the Miami side though, because it's obviously worth talking about. There's a lot of good plays in this game, but they are starting to get priced up a bit, right? I want to hear the injury status. We had no Kelly Olynyk last game, so we have to kind of monitor that. We saw when Kelly Olynyk was out, we saw Myers Leonard get 8 minutes. We saw Derrick Jones Jr. get some, but not as much as I expected. We even saw a little bit of Kendrick Nunn. I can't remember exactly what his minutes were, but I don't know how to really handle these guys because they're priced up, right? If you look, Bam Adebayo, he's 8.3K now. Goran Dragic, he's 7.2, $200 price bump. And then you got Jimmy Butler, he's at 8.6. So there's not a lot of meat on the bone left on these guys. Even Jay Crowder at 5.6. You're definitely paying more of a premium for these guys. It's obviously a good pace up spot there, so I want to get some exposure to them. But I'm saying it's not going to be a day where we're jamming in all the heat like we have been. I think we're going to be picking and choosing our guys more. It depends on position scarcity and kind of what fits. One thing I'll say about Dragic, I faded him last game, and the reason why I faded him was because if you looked the way he was performing, right, he was shooting so efficiently, and he came down to reality a little bit the next game, right? He shot 60%, 44%. Last game he shot 40%. It's just a high price tag on Dragic. I don't know exactly. I haven't built a ton of NBA lines. I don't know exactly how I'm going to go, but looking at this Heat side, this game is not as exciting as the other game. And one reason why is the prices are up, and it's because it's a game 3 or game 4, while the other game that we're going to talk about, that's in a game 2. So some of these prices haven't been adjusted yet. So I think that later game we're going to be more excited about.
Well, also look at the way they played too. I mean, the pace, the Heat are just running really slow, third slowest pace of any offense so far. And they've kind of run it. That offense has kind of run the series, hasn't it? I mean, obviously defensively they've been terrific, but it's just that controls the pace. JT, where are you on this game? Anything with the Heat?
No, I'm going to leave that breakdown to Travis.
Fine work, Travis. Fine work. And guys, I know we forgot to do the stacks. I'll get to the baseball stacks. We'll do the baseball stacks after we do the NBA stacks. It's been a wild morning today. We got 4 different Travises. We got JT hanging out of the beach. What is that behind you? Is that a needle? Are you in Jersey? No, you're in South Carolina. I thought you had floating syringes out there.
Come on, man. It's beautiful blue sky. Oh, yeah. There's going to be a Trump boat parade later. I don't know. I'm going to stay indoors during that because.
Is there really?
No, I hope not.
Oh,
I came here for serenity. Yeah. I don't need any chaos.
I would go to. I'd take a little tube.
JT's not going to that parade going on because he's going with me to the Matt Harvey out of town tour. He's going to be there and listen to the classics.
It's now the total 7. Over under. How do you go over on that? That is insane. That's absolutely insane. But you might actually be onto something. That's the crazy part. It's definitely getting 9 at bats.
there's a thing, right? When a number becomes too inflated, Holden, what do?
Go with it.
No,
You
jump
go
on the
under.
underdog. Jump on
I'm
the
not going under either.
on the underdog.
Yeah, it's too scary, man. It's too scary. How about the other game here, Travis, with Houston at the Los Angeles Lakers? Are you a little surprised that the Rockets defense to this point? I mean, this is starting to become something here. I don't know if anybody thinks that the Lakers are just going to get their clocks clean here, lose this game. Who knows? But start with the Houston side there, Mangone.
Yeah, listen, I like the Houston side. And you talk about their defense; they have been playing a lot better defense. And this whole kind of offense they're running, Westbrook is basically their center. And he's a guy. He's slashing in the basket. He's getting those rebounds, and he's a really strong play here at 8.5K. That price is not up to where it is. If I told you, hey, let's go to Game 5 and look at the Draftkings salaries, I'm telling you, Westbrook's salary will not be 8.5 or below. It'll be more than that. It just is. So you're getting a little bit of discount, right? You're getting a little nice value there. So I'm probably going to be on Westbrook at 8.5. It feels like too cheap of a salary. Now, the other piece is how do we handle it? Because, again, a lot of these guys got priced up because Westbrook was out. So some of their prices got priced up, and now we're going to make some adjustments to it. How do you want to handle them? Like Covington, it still feels a bit pricey for me, so it's tough. Eric Gordon, I don't mind, but I will say Eric Gordon talked about how he has to adapt to this new role, and he has to try to find other ways to do things on the court. He might not get the shot attempts. I think the price at 5.9 isn't bad. I wouldn't mind him as the last piece. But it obviously still, like I said, it's tough to roster. PJ Tucker's kind of the value on this team, I feel like. And he helps at a center position, which is not normally the most fun to roster too. So Tucker, I don't mind him as a little bit of value. We have to monitor Daniel House's status. I don't know if he got upgraded to probable for this game or not, but if he's out, there's going to be some opportunity there. And listen, I called Ben McLemore being the guy that replaces House's minutes, and I was wrong. He ended up being Austin Rivers. But I was right that someone was going to end up replacing some of his stuff. I was obviously got right that he got injured, right? That played into it too. But you did see Rivers a little bit sooner before that injury. So some of these pieces, right, like an Austin Rivers or a Ben McLemore, they're going to see some run at the 3.2K range. The problem is, I don't know if they're the values we want to go to. I think the values we want to go to really are on the Lakers side of the ball.
Then tell me about the values on the Lakers side of the ball.
All right, yeah, let's talk about him. So Rondo, 3.3K, that's an absurd price tag. The situation he was in too. One thing I saw Frank Vogel talk about is if you saw Rondo's minutes, okay, Rondo ended up getting 24 minutes. Now, if you're, building your own projections or trying to project what Rondo's going to do, I will take the under on, it basically got 25 minutes. I'll take the under on 25 minutes. The reason why I'll take the under on 25 minutes is Frank Vogel talked about it. He basically said the reason why Rondo got more minutes was because of Caruso's foul trouble. And Caruso, he played 16 minutes and had 24 fantasy points. One guy in chat, Antoine Murphy, he's saying, don't go back to Rondo because he's not getting the same minutes. You're right. But here's the problem. The value is awful on this slate. So I still think playing Rondo at that price is good. But you know who the better play is? It's Alex Caruso. He's probably the best value in this game. No doubt in my mind. That's the guy I want to go to. I feel really strong about him. Another guy, again, more of these value plays, someone that he only played 10 minutes. And again, if you're playing the showdown slate tonight and you're trying to find ways to get unique, everyone's going to go back to play Rondo. Why not play some Markieff Morris? I mean, they lost last game and Keith didn't get a ton of run. And Keith talked about how they had a really bad energy off the bench. He specifically said, our energy sucked. He was like, it was not good. So what I think is going to happen is you might see if Keith gets a little going, he could obviously gain some more minutes, right? There's a lot of things that can go around. So, and that's more so a showdown slate play, that Markieff Morris thing, right? He's like a 1K kind of guy. We'll have some showdown content for you guys. So something to look at, a way to be different, a way to be unique on a 2-game slate because it's not easy to do. I like Kyle Kuzma still. I played him last game. I don't think he's a bad play. He played 28 minutes. He only he shot 3 for 9. I think Kuzma could have a little bit of a bounce back at 4.8K. I don't think he's a bad play. And then in the starting lineup, like Danny Green and KCP, they're just great values. So I'm really jamming a lot of these Laker values. And between Anthony Davis and LeBron, kind of whatever fits is where I'm going. But I think it's close between both of them. Obviously, I think it depends on construction, right? LeBron's a point guard, small forward. Davis is center, power forward. So I think that really matters with your lineup construction.
Anything to add, JT, or can we go back to the NBA or the MLB stacks?
Yeah, we can go back.
All right. Now, listen, guys and ladies. I know there's a couple ladies in here, too. You're at 96 likes. This is pathetic. I mean, we had over 300 watching at one time. You're not going to get to 125 with this. You only got
JT,
like another 2 minutes. So.
JT, what is it that you always say? Big T always asks you, so I got to ask you. What do we say this is right now going on with the chat?
It's disrespectful and hurtful.
Hurtful and disrespectful, guys. Come on, get us to, what is it, 125, Holden?
I'll just tell you this much. The last time someone disrespected me, I shanked him right here in the jugular. Well, you're laughing and you think I'm kidding. I mean, this happens. Don't mess with me.
Mangone doesn't want to get shanked in the jugular. Now, Travis is not getting shanked in the jugular, I promise you that, but Mangone does not want
to. You don't have to worry about it.
Mangone is a victim.
All right, real quick, going back to baseball stacks since I went right over that. White Sox number 1. Who's number 2, Mangone?
Yeah, White Sox number 1. I'd say 2 is I'd go Twins, and we'll go 3. We'll go with the let's go with the Toronto Blue Jays.
All right, Boston number 2 for you, JT.
Yeah, Boston, and then man, it's hard to overlook that whole environment with the Blue Jays facing a guy who's probably going to pitch like 2 innings, maybe 3 innings, right, for Triggs, and then that bullpen that Holden. Did you have your tryout for the Red Sox bullpen yet? I heard that was going to.
How horrible! Like the Phillies bullpen got off to a historically bad start, and Workman and Hembry and these other guys have not been great. But if you were targeting the the Phillies bullpen in the beginning of the season, you were probably targeting the Red Sox too. The Red Sox are now getting to the territory as possibly the worst bullpen ever. And again, I say this all the time. It's because we're in a 60-game season with doubleheaders and guys that have no business being in the majors are in there. And nobody has less depth from top to bottom on their 40-man than the Red Sox right now.
It's funny. The other day they brought in this guy, Phillips Valdez. Yeah. And I look and I'm like, wait, his ERA was like 0.68 and it stunned me for it. And I'm like, oh, because he comes in to give up the runs that the other guy left on base.
Didn't he give up a home run? I think he gave up a 3-run home run. Yeah, it was wonderful. It was absolutely beautiful. Hey, guys, guess what? The NFL is Thursday, and then a week from now, I'm gonna be on with JSU. So let me just throw some things out. Travis, I know you and I Mangone, you and I are gonna be working a couple of times. We got our cash show, NFL cash show. I know there's a lot of people that play cash. Cash people kind of get thrown to the side. We love it. So we're gonna do some cash here on Fridays, you, me, and Hoop. And I know I'm working with you Wednesday night doing the DFS and betting show. So we're going to kind of do some NFL there. You got a million shows too. JT, what do you do? Do you just not like football?
No, I love football. It's yet to be decided what I'm going to be doing. So,
okay. Well, I'm totally willing to do a show with you. That'd be fun.
Love doing shows with you.
I love it. Yeah. And that's about it. All right. Go find some mermaids at the Trump boat rally today, JT. Have a wonderful weekend. I don't know what to say to you, Mangone. You're helpless, dude. You're helpless.
Hey, it's been listen. We're gonna bounce back here, though. It's been a rough 20 hours, but we're gonna have a good day.
Dude, these totals for these baseball games are ridiculous. Just everything now.
You said it though. No pitching. There's no pitching in this league right now. It's condensed to like 3 or 4 teams. So
it's still kind of warm. I mean, do the Blue Jays and Red Sox go over 11?
Yeah.
Mangone, you got a take on that?
I mean, listen, there's tons of bats. I love it, man. It's gonna be a fun day. I'm excited.
I'll win some shmoney, everybody. And there was one thing that you messed up, JT, but I can't find what I wrote it down. So you called Giannis Janice. So just so you know, I don't know what.
I don't remember doing that.
We may as well call him Janice if he sits today. So,
all right, I'll catch you. We got a baseball show tomorrow. The NFL starts on Tuesday. Our content does, and maybe even before that. And bye, Mangone. Bye, Captain, back in the studio. We'll see you tomorrow.